Hello and welcome back to Strictly Java. And once again I start my adventures in the town square.
This town
Became a tourist getaway because of its cooler climate.
Despite the almost never-ending traffic, especially on long weekends.
It also plays an important place in the history of the health of Indonesia. And there's a connection between this town and Brad Pitt in his film 7 Years in Tibet. And if you haven't guessed where I am, a place of natural beauty, historical interest, and a big tourist getaway, welcome to Lembang.
Now let's see where Lembang is on the map. Lembang is in West Java and about 15 kilometers to the north of Bandung. In Menteng, Jalan Lembang, or Lembang Street, is a long road connecting Jalan Latuhahari, where it opens up with a museum about Indonesian national hero Ahmad Yani, to Jalan Tuku Umar. Today, this quiet, tree-lined street has a mix of housing from original to modern, all in different architectural styles. But the street is most famous for its iconic lake in a well-maintained park, where all local residents can take time out to relax. Having seen Jalan Lembang, time to return to Lembang itself.
And this is the town square, recently renovated, so a lot more concrete, but it's great there's a place to play. As usual in the town square, you will find the mosque on one side,
And the original local government office, the Pendopo, behind. Uniquely for Java, this one is enclosed rather than open on the sides, because of the cooler weather. Now in this town, one can not only dream of the stars, one can see them. Because in this town, you have a world-renowned observatory. But it was something else that put this place back in the public eye in the year 2000. Because it was here, in this observatory, that the heinous kidnapping of two innocent young children, Sharina and Saddam, took place. Held captive overnight before their plucky escape, it grabbed the nation's attention. Fortunately, it wasn't a real kidnapping, but from the film Petualangan Sharina, The Adventures of Sharina.
whilst Disney created Mary Poppins for generations sing along to, Indonesia has Petualangan Sharina.
And everyone knows tunes from this musical. So let's test it.
Mas, ada lagu kesukaan dari Petualangan Sharina?
Ada.
Bisa bernyanyi?
Oke, sedikit ya. Mengapa bintang bersinar? Mengapa air mengalir? Oke, that's all.
Ada lagu kesukaan dari Petualangan Sharina?
Yes, dia pikir dia yang paling hebat, merasa paling jago dan paling kuat. Dia memang jagoan. Okay.
So there you have it. The hills of Lembang are still firmly alive with the sound of music. But now let's take a little look at the history of this place and its beautiful surroundings.
The observatory was the brainchild of a local plantation owner, Karl Adolf Rudolf Boscher. Building began in 1923 and was completed 5 years later. Sadly, Boscher himself passed away soon after it was completed.
With its 11-metre-long telescope and Carl Zeiss lens, the observatory was one of only a handful in the southern hemisphere for most of the 20th century, allowing it to play an important role in celestial observations, although in recent years, light pollution from surrounding towns has dimmed its effectiveness.
Let's toast Bing and Lembang with a glass of milk. Cheers. Why milk? Because Lembang is where the modern dairy industry first began in Indonesia, or the Dutch East Indies as it was then, with the importation of the first Frisian cows in 1895. The demand for milk came from the rapidly expanding Dutch population of Bandung down the hill, a town that was slated to become the new administrative capital of the Dutch East Indies to replace Batavia, or Jakarta as it's known today. As the appeal of milk expanded beyond the Dutch population, the dairy sector grew significantly in Lembang and West Java. Along with the dairy sector came new products, including this, probably the most famous, Bolu Susu Lembang, or Lembang milk sponge. Let's try some. And this one is pandan flavor, pandan being from a plant with a fragrant leaf, often used in foods in Southeast Asia. And you can see it's very light and soft and delicious.
So when you're in Lembang, look out for the bolu susu and thank any cows you pass along the way. And now, in this place, we come to a reminder of someone who put Lembang at the centre of the global health sector in the late 19th and first half of the 20th centuries.
Lembang was not only the birthplace for milk production, but also for growing this tree.
Cinchona. Why is cinchona important?
Because from the bark of the tree you get quinine, quinine being the only remedy for malaria up until the development of synthetic drugs. And it was this guy, Dr. Franz Wilhelm Jungen, originally from Mansfeld in Germany, who first introduced the cinchona tree to Lembang.
For the drinkers amongst you, you may be interested to know that the cinchona tree is sometimes called the fever tree, because to make the quinine more palatable, it was added to tonic and further improved with a good dose of gin. By 1913, it is estimated the Dutch controlled about 95% of world quinine production. Now what, you may ask, is the connection between Brad Pitt and Lembang? A little tenuous admittedly, but it all centres around what was formerly the best hotel in town, the Grand Hotel Lembang. Established in 1918 and famed for its facilities and services, come the Second World War and two incredible stories emerge. First off is the story of Victor Tripel. It's January 1939, and 9-year-old Victor has tragically lost both parents to different sicknesses within 1 month of one another. Fortunately, his aunts are there to look after him. But in Europe, the clouds of war are gathering. In September, the Second World War erupts, and in May 1940, Germany invades the Netherlands. Tripels are Austrian, but with the merger of Austria into the German Reich, the Tripels became enemy aliens, and the hotel was confiscated, with Victor and his aunts sent to internment camps. Then, in March 1942, the Japanese occupied the Dutch East Indies. With Germany and Japan being allies, the former enemy aliens were released, but relocated by the Japanese to Sarangan in East Java. Whilst the war ends in 1945, the Dutch reasserted their claim to Indonesia, resulting in Germans and Austrians being held at Sarangan until 1949, when the Dutch finally recognised Indonesian independence. Too much to narrate here, so I highly recommend reading Victor's story, as recounted in the fascinating book Even Without Blood by Birgit Tripel, Victor's daughter. Before going to the second story, a little more about the very short-lived but key position of Lembang in early 1942. In an effort by the Allied powers to pool their resources in the face of the advancing Japanese, on the 1st of January they established the short-lived American, Britain, Dutch, Australia Command, ABDACOM. On the 18th of January, its headquarters was set up in Lembang. But it was short-lived, because by the 7th of March the Japanese had occupied Lembang, and on the 8th of March the Dutch formally surrendered to Japan at Kalijati, 30 kilometres to the north of Lembang. With the Japanese occupation, the hotel was taken over once again, this time by the Japanese military. Now let's go to the second story and the connection between Lembang and Brad Pitt. In 1934, cousin Bruno Tripel arrived at the hotel to work as an entertainer, where he worked on and off for 6 years, but it was not for his time at the hotel that he became famous. As we know, in May 1940, when Germany invaded the Netherlands, Austrians and Germans became enemy aliens. Women and children were interned at nearby camps, whilst men were sent to Onrust Island in the Bay of Jakarta. This included Bruno and 2 family members. With the Japanese nearing Java, in December 1941, 975 internees were packed on a convoy of 3 ships to be transferred to British India. On the 18th of January, attacked by the Japanese, not knowing the ships were carrying their allies, hundreds of the internees lost their lives, including one of Bruno's family members. On arrival in India, Bruno was interned at the Dehradun camp in Mysore. But the camp was not for Bruno, so along with 6 others, he escaped. Bruno was eventually recaptured and interned until the end of the war, at which point he returned to Austria. His fellow escapee included the champion skier and mountaineer Heinrich Harrer. He made it all the way to the Indo-Tibetan border before crossing over. It was here that Harrer met, became an influence upon and lifelong friend of the then 11-year-old Tenzin Gyatso, the 14th Dalai Lama. His adventures were dramatized in the 1997 film 7 Years in Tibet, based on Harer's best-selling novel of the same name. Harrer passed away in 2006, whilst Bruno became the last surviving member of the brave escapees, passing away in 2016. As for Victor, after the war, he lived in Austria, the Netherlands and France, before passing away in 2021. After the war, the Hotel Grand Lembang returned to being a hotel and stayed popular up until the turn of this century. But as the decades rolled on, its grandeur faded, and it finally closed its doors in 2022. Now boarded up, in 2024, I was fortunate to still be able to walk around the grounds and admire the famous replica statue of Venus de Milo. With this, I finish my visit to Lembang, but if you're a visitor, there are many other places to see, from strawberry farms to dairy farms, orchid farms to flower farms, a floating market to old fortifications, and stunning views from the cool, hilly air, including the views of the geological fault located just to the east of Lembang. So come on, it's time to get exploring.